now, and I'm going to record his backup. Just give me a second.
Okay. All right, thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Today is February 5th, 2026. It is 6:17 p.m. This is the Housing and Land Use Committee meeting. My name is Rich Reynoso. I'm the chair of Housing and Land Use. To my left,
Cynthia Rodriguez, chair of the board.
of the committee. And you want to introduce yourself just for Harry the other board member. Any folks online want to introduce themselves from the committee?
Sure, Oral Southbridge, Land Use, co-chair. Your camera isn't on. I can't see anyone at the table.
Oh, again.
Oh, really?
It's on.
There you go. Now I see it.
Maybe more.
Okay. Maybe you have to do some magic on my end. Okay.
No, I see it. I see it. It's there now. You guys are there now.
Okie dokie. Next up is a conduct statement. Read that at your own time. I'm sure this meeting will be fine. Moving on to meeting minutes. I checked. We owe December and January, so we'll get to that in terms of attendance and just transcribing the minutes. So that's on me. Okay. Moving right along, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. The DSS shelter presentation. Welcome, folks. Welcome. Thank you for your time. I've been playing a little cat and mouse with the dates, but we're glad we're together. Whoever wants to take lead on your end, please go ahead.
So good evening, everyone. I'm Jamar Hooks. I'm the Deputy Commissioner for Intergov and Legislative Affairs. I'm joined tonight by some of my colleagues from DHS, some of my colleagues, and I'll have them introduce themselves. I'll pass to Yvonne.
Hi, good evening, Yvonne Ballard, Associate Commissioner with Shelter Ops. I'll pass it on to John.
Good evening, everyone. John Hammond, Assistant Commissioner, Shelter Ops, DHS, and I'm going to pass it on to Yuri Sanchez.
Hi, good evening. Yuri Sanchez, Assistant Deputy Commissioner at DSS Intergov, and I'll pass it to Simone.
Good evening, everyone. Simone Zito, IGA, DSS, Bronxborough Director.
Margaret.
Afternoon. Good evening, Margaret Sharpness, Executive Director, IGA, Community Relations.
Thank you. I think that's all for DSS. We'll pass to Lantern now.
Oh, hello. Good evening. This is Diane Ward Michelle. I'm the Executive Director of Lantern Community Services. And I'm going to pass it to Michael Winter.
Hi, I'm Michael Winter. I'm the Chief Financial and Administrative Officer, and I'm going to transfer to Taisha.
Hi, everyone. I'm Taisha Zachary, VP of Shelter Programs at Lantern Community Services.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for having us. I know that there were some complications with getting the schedule, but I'm glad that we're here today. We're going to start off by giving a presentation on the new site. Mike was going to lead us, and afterward, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So I'm going to pass it over to Diane to start the first part of the presentation.
Thank you so much. Oh, so first of all, thank you. We appreciate this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the project and about Lantern Community Services. I just want to start off with saying that, you know, we are a not-for-profit 501c3. We are really mission focused and centered. Our mission and our values are to create pathways to stability for New Yorkers who have been impacted by homelessness. We operate both shelter and supportive housing programs, so permanent supportive housing. And the whole goal is just to support New Yorkers at different stages of their journey, whether they are currently in crisis or whether they have found a permanent home and they are now seeking stability and community integration. So we've been doing this for over 30 years, and our basic methodology is to provide very person-centered and wraparound services that will help those that we are interfacing with to move forward from homelessness and to build a foundation for lasting independence in our communities and in our supportive housing settings and affordable housing settings. So just to kind of reiterate a fine point, we really are core things that shelter is not an answer to homelessness. It's a stopping point. And so our real core philosophy is to combine housing or access to housing, and if it's within our own portfolio with personalized services, and we're just trying to meet the diversity of needs of the people that we consider our clients and our residents. So the end goal is to make sure that housing, both their experience in our shelters and their experiences after, and we do provide some aftercare, is helping them build a foundation for long-term empowerment and long-term well-being. So that's a little bit about us and who we are and what guides us. Lantern, the project, Hudson Bay, is going to be a shelter that will serve single adult women, 55 plus. We have 200 beds, and every single person will be under the care of Lantern Community Services. We're expecting to open on or about in the spring of 2026. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of the timeline and the targets. I also want to give you a sense of what to expect from the Lantern community team in terms of on-site services. So foundational is case management. Every person gets assigned somebody who is looking and working with them personally to achieve goals and help them exit homelessness. That's augmented by medical and mental health assessments, by housing readiness preparedness, by really helping our residents through referral services to both, services that are around our local shelter and other things that may be in their immediate future. We do housing advocacy, and we do a lot of client workshops, trainings, both on the individual and a group basis. We also understand that a shelter is is deeply operational. It's a 24/7 operation. We provide, from Lantern Community Services, we provide maintenance and janitorial services to make sure that we are meeting standards of safety and cleanliness and all those things that actually matter, both inside and outside of our facilities. And we also both contracted and in-house security, so that on a 24/7 basis, our clients are secure, safe and secure. So before I transition to Michael on the next slide, I just want to give you a little sense of how we're organized. So Michael and I are C-suite members. We also, the team that's going to be overseeing and sort of really monitoring and working on both quality assurance and continuous quality improvement is headed by a chief program officer, also a C-suite individual. The two people, one of the two people you see, Taisha, is our VP of Shelter Programs. We have another individual, Talisha Van Brackle, who is our Vice President of Shelter Operations. They both report up into the C-suite. Reporting to them, though, are all the site-based management, and that includes a site-based program director who oversees the director of program ops, who oversees the director of social services, that integration of operations and services again, and then also oversees an assistant program director who does, is kind of like a team leader. Talisha, the Vice President of Shelter Ops, is really primarily focused on security and operations and maintenance functions. Taisha, who's on the call today, is the VP of Programs, Shelter Programs, and she's really focused on direct client-facing services that have to do with counseling and housing placement, ultimate housing placement. So with that, I hope it gives you a little bit of a sense of how we operate, what our organizational hierarchy is. But I now want to pass this on to Michael Winter, who will tell you a little bit more about the shelter, our plans for security and other things that matter. So thank you, Michael. I'm passing it to you.
Thank you, Diane. So we for security, we kind of run like what we kind of approach it in a hybrid model. We have contracted security, and there's always 4 of them on staff, and they're primarily working at the, in the building at the main entrance, and they do some perimeter patrols. And then we have our staff that will also do security functions, and they'll be doing, exterior patrols of the building. They'll do patrols throughout the, throughout the building during the course of the day. Generally we work on 3 shifts. And so for each of the shifts, we kind of put them on the screen. We have the midnight shift, we have a day shift, and we have an evening shift. And on each one of those shifts, there will be 8 staff dedicated solely to security. We do try to use technology as much as possible. So, we'll have, all the proper magnetrons, all the things when people enter the building to make sure, that everyone's operating in a safe environment. We're not bringing anything into the building we shouldn't. The contracted staff will have, fire designations as FO2s and F80s, and our staff will have their FO2 licenses. So, we'll have a fairly good bunch of people monitoring security on a regular basis. Like I said, we really want to try to utilize technology where we can. Right now, there are about 115 high-def cameras already placed throughout the building. They're already in place. We'll have a pretty robust, what we call a digital recorder that will allow us to, over time, incorporate some AI features in to help with some of the camera surveillance. All the camera feeds will be monitored in 2 places in the building, one at the front desk and one in back in the operations, and the feed will come live into our main office here. So staff can see it here, and we can all look at it remotely via technology pretty much 24/7. So, we'll, all of us will have our eyes on what's going on as we do in our other shelters. We'll be able to, have our security management plan available for people to look at. And so, you can ask that of us later. We maintain our own like workspace and cleaning space. So we have staff dedicated doing maintenance, janitorial services, working with third-party vendors that may service some of the, system equipment inside the facility, whether it be HVAC, whether it be the elevators. Our cleaning staff will, they take pride in what they do. So the floors are clean, the high traffic areas are cleaned on a regular basis. We're going to make sure the exterior of the building is properly lit, cleaned, and, systematically we'll make sure we take care of our garbage and take care of all those things and really try to be a really good neighbor. Before I go back to Diane to talk a little bit more about community engagement, we have already created our hotline, which will share all that data at the end. So we'll always be able to provide feedback, and, I'm responsive no matter where I am. So if there's ever an issue with security, maintenance, or anything, you can all have my direct email, my cell phone. Used to getting called at kind of whatever time it takes. So we'd be there for you. And now I'll put it back to Diane so she can talk a little bit more about community engagement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm just doing a check. I hope everyone can hear us well. Okay, great. So community engagement. Just want to say, although this is an ongoing commitment from Lantern Community Services to the community stakeholders around us, we really do, been to this before, and we know how important it is. It's not just that it's there, but it's how you start, right? That matters, and with whom you start. And so the Community Advisory Board, our commitment is that it's going to be inclusive of all the key community stakeholders. That would be, of course, our team with neighborhood residents, homeowners, local store owners. We hope to also include faculty and administrators from local schools, members of the Bronx Community Board 11. It's fairly open. We found in the past that having representatives from religious communities, leaders from other CBOs, designated representatives from other electeds can be helpful. All right, and so we're open to what makes the most sense for CB11. We do make a commitment that our team will regularly attend CB11 meetings. We'll maintain ongoing and open communications with people, including elected officials. And the whole thing is to open and foster an ongoing dialogue that is constructive and useful, and really helps mitigate and ameliorate and involve the community around where Hudson Bay sits. In the past, we've attended local precinct meetings. They found that they are a very important stakeholder. So we plan to regularly attend the 49th precincts, community council meetings. And I just want to end off with, we do abide by and are guided by good neighbor policies. We're committed to building and maintaining and stewarding good relationships with our neighbors. At the end of the day, we do have a written policy. We do engage our clients and residents around that written, that good neighbor policy. It is reinforced on individual meetings. It's reinforced in group meetings. And it's something that we hope, actually helps our neighbors understand how the importance we give to respecting the neighborhoods in which our shelters are situated. So with that, we will open up to questions. I just want to point out, Michael, if you can change, that this community hotline information, that number is active now, today. And there's also an email that you can use to contact us. And now at this point, I'd like to open it up. I'll pass it back to DHS and let them facilitate the rest.
Yeah, so we'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much for that presentation. It's really appreciated. I'll start with folks in the room. If you have any questions, go ahead.
Okay, so
So I want to direct my question to Michael. So Michael was talking about the privacy earlier on of the residents in the place. My name is Bishop. Sorry, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Bishop.
Sorry, there's a rule of order here. Folks inside go first.
Okay.
I will call you when I'm ready to. Okay, Bishop. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks so much.
Go ahead.
So just a couple of questions in terms of site selection. I was just looking at the map of your locations. I see they're heavily concentrated, Bronx, Manhattan. Just wondering what your process is in terms of finding adequate sites. What are your criteria for selecting a site?
So our Bronx and Manhattan sites are all our permanent supportive housing and affordable housing sites that we provide services in. It is, a lot of it has been based historically. We've been doing this for close to 30 years. So a lot of it has mapped to where housing opportunity, in terms of site acquisition, real estate cost, the value we can add to a neighborhood by bringing in new, safe, quality housing. So it's not one-dimensional. The rest of our shelters are operated in Queens, are located in Queens. So our DHS facilities are all based in Queens. And this will be our first in the Bronx.
Okay, any data on, I think you mentioned medical services. I wasn't paying attention at that moment. I apologize. Any data on comorbidities, primary issues, substance use, mental health, or just, your run-of-the-mill medical, chronic diabetes, that sort of thing?
So I'll just take a stab at that. What we found in the populations that we serve, they are very diverse, right? And they have diverse needs. Because we can offer, many of our programs are headed by masters of social workers, mental health clinicians, sometimes often licensed, we can offer a level of support around people's behavioral health issues, should they have them. In general, we also, although we don't have primary care in-house, we do a lot of primary care through referrals and linkages agreements that we have with local folks and with people's existing primary care providers. You are absolutely right. There is people who, especially in crisis of experiencing homelessness, tend to be less connected to health care services that are community-based. And so that is one of the things that we do work on, but we also work on, meeting them exactly where they are. And we do treat each person as an individual. And we're looking not only to, bolster their health, we're also looking to connect them, to move them from crisis to a place where they can be more stable and they can actually reintegrate into community. So I hope that answers some of your questions, but please let me know. And
If I could add a couple of things. So you're
Mhm.
right. Many of individuals experiencing homelessness are facing behavioral health challenges and physical health conditions. But there are a large number of folks, and I think we try to reiterate this, that are working full time but are unable to afford the rent, so they have to live in shelter. But there are many, many people, including folks that will be at this shelter, that are fully employed, full-time employees, and they're going to work and coming home and coming back to shelter every day, and spending their free time trying to find apartments. So yes, there are people with behavioral health conditions, there are people with physical health conditions, but there are a good number of people that are in going to work every day.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I think you may have an opportunity with Jacoby being in such proximity to develop some sort of an ongoing working relationship. Then you have Einstein as well, that's right there. So I think definitely, there's an opportunity there to create some sort of a linkage. I also I was wondering about the turnover. Do you have an average length of stay among your sites?
I almost want to, it varies. It's actually varied a lot. Taisha, do you feel that you have a closer
I can take
sense of
that
that?
one.
Yeah,
And
please.
the average length of stay for this population is about 9 to 12 months. And then the reason that it takes so long, many of them are connected to CityFEP's vouchers. I think you all noticed, but the city experienced a 1.4% vacancy rate, meaning that affordable housing is very hard to find. So it takes folks a year, sometimes more, to find it, to find an apartment that's affordable. They're also confronted with source of income discrimination, that landlords sometimes discriminate against their vouchers. And so folks can sometimes take a little bit more than a year to find an apartment, but many people are moving out of shelter between 9 and 12 months.
And my final question, thank you for tolerating me. My final question is with regards to the community engagement. I can attest to the fact that there have been a lot of questions over the last 2 years about this particular site, what was going to go there. And finally, we have, we do feel like we're getting some answers. And I want to know more about the Community Advisory Board, how you'd like to go about, getting people onto this advisory board, what kind of input we can have in that process, how we can assist, how we can work together on that. Interesting.
So we want you all to be completely involved. We want you to send us names of individuals that you think would be good folks to have on a cab. We also will do our own work around the local community. I mean, there are businesses around, so we'll go to those businesses and try to get them on board. But we're really relying on the community board, the local elected officials, to provide names of individuals that you think would be good members of a cab and that could offer a community perspective, and that are reasonable folks that can come to us with constructive ideas, maybe ways to get our clients involved in community work. There are many ways to be involved, but the cab is one vehicle. So we're definitely relying on you all to offer names and suggestions of individuals that would be good cab members.
Do you have a timeline, more or less?
We typically stand up cabs 30 days after the site has opened.
Okay.
So we want to be up and running within 30 days of the site opening. So my colleague Simone Zito, who's on this call, will probably be reaching out to you, as will the provider. I will be reaching out to you to get that information of prospective CAB members. There is a process for vetting CAB members, but typically if the person is representing an organization, they are representing an organization, don't necessarily need to be vetted because they're representing an organization. So we will reach out when the time is right and get your input. And I hope at that time you are able to offer a good number of members. We typically try to keep cabs limited to 15 to 20 people as to keep the conversation, to ensure that the conversation is constructive. And so if you have, any folks that you think are good members from the community, we're happy to take a look at that.
Okay.
You have a question? Go ahead.
Good evening. I have a question. How was that location picked? Where did you realize that was the location that the shelter was going to be there? Take your time. Is this wrong?
So the way it works is there's an open-ended RFP process that allows providers, mostly nonprofits, to submit a proposal for a city contract, such as shelter services, on an ongoing basis without a set closing date. Proposals are reviewed periodically as they are received, rather than waiting for a single deadline. DHS award contracts on a continuous basis to meet urgent need. So we evaluate the proposals based on a number of criteria. So it's technical merit, which means assessing the quality and feasibility of the proposal, cost considerations, evaluating the budget for reasonableness, and then operational plan, staffing, location, and the ability to meet needs. But the way it works is that a provider locates the site and brings it to DHS in a form of a proposal. We review the proposal, evaluate the proposal, and then select an award. Once the proposal is deemed acceptable and approved, a contract is negotiated, approved by the Mayor's Office of Contracts.
But my question is, did you know the first day with construction, did you know that was going to be a shelter?
Did we know on the first day of construction that it was going?
When they started knocking down the auto body shop, I live half a block away. When they started knocking down the body shop and they started putting up the bricks and everything to make the building, did you guys know that was going to be a shelter?
I'm not certain when we were first. In terms of the landlord is free to do whatever he or she chooses with their property. I'm not sure when when this proposal was submitted and when.
I understand what you're trying to say. What I'm just trying to say, the landlord has the right to rent it to anybody. And just let me make it clear. Let me make it clear. I live a half a block away from there. I have no beef with this. I'm good. But I just want to know, because we were in the dark for a long time. Did you guys know?
Thank you.
That we're gonna make a shelter there? Your organization, oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna break ground on this place on 1682 shelter. Stillwell, are you interested in making it into a shelter? That's the question. Because we was in the dark for a long time. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't get the right answer. Nobody knew anything. We couldn't tell the constituents of the neighborhood, what was gonna go there. We were kind of ridiculous not knowing what was gonna go there. And like I said, I got no beef with it. I'm good with the shelter. People have the right to put their head on a pillow. I'm good with that.
And there is a point in which we know that it will be shelter. And after the contract is, the RFP is evaluated and a selection is made, then we're free to notify the community on the shelter. And I don't quite remember when we notified this community of the shelter, but we certainly did notify the community when we were able to move forward with the shelter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, but Jamal, you mentioned that there are less vacancies available for the turnover period to last for what you wanted to. But we also, I know for a fact that we have difficulties with your inspection units, that they will take so long to inspect a unit while the client is waiting in the shelter. For their reasons, they would fail it, and then it would take another long period to re-inspect, and then it would take another long period to re-inspect. So you might want to take a look at the inspectors that are inspecting this unit, because I know for sure there is a family waiting for almost 4 months after the landlord agreed. Not all landlords discriminate. The landlord agreed. The family was hoping to spend Christmas. One inspector failed it. The landlord sent pictures. The other inspector came and said, I'm a new inspector. You need this. And it's almost 6 weeks. And the clients are still in the shelter waiting. So you might want to look into that. And you have already answered 2 of my questions, the length of time that it will stay there. And I think you already answered the other question as well.
Okay, I will say that we will look into that, but I have to say that the inspection process has to be rigorous, because the expectation is that people will be living in this apartment for the long term. And we want to make sure that they have what they need, that the apartment is up to code, and things are as they should be. So that's why sometimes the inspector has to go back and forth 2 and 3, 4 times to make sure that folks are getting an appropriate unit and are able to live there in the long term, for the long term. But we will take your suggestion back, and thank you for bringing that to our attention.
My problem is, this is an excellent apartment, fully renovated. It's the time they would take to come back and inspect. It's a long time. If you want to have a 9-month to 12 months turnover, and the inspectors are taking at least 8-9 weeks to come back. And the answer they give that, oh, it's a lot of inspection waiting, oh, we're extremely busy. It's just not working out that well here.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we're done in the room. Oral from the board, and then Bishop. I didn't forget about you, but Oral's on the committee. Go ahead, Oral.
Sure, no problem. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Jamar, I really want to thank you for your real life honesty, your clarity, and being real about how the real world works. I appreciate that that transparency that you have with everything. So one of the things that always I have a question about is job training. Like, how do you? I know, because folks, when they go through this transition from being homeless to owning or renting an apartment, right? They need to be able to sustain that building, and they need to have a job where they are needed or wanted, and that they can survive on for a while. What types of jobs do you anticipate training folks to be able to sustain an apartment for a long period of time? What type of training is available for them? Because the future is changing, right? You have AI, you have all these things going on. So how do you imagine yourself training folks for the future?
Lantern, do you want to take that one?
I'll take that. I think that when we talk about group and training, most of it is the things that we have in-house. And so we're training people around, you know, systems with daily living skills. We're training them around, you know, generically sort of like how to do job search. We're not specifically, Lantern Community Services, not specifically a workforce training organization. So our thing would be if we find somebody as part of that person-centered case management who has skills or aspirations, we're going to try to connect them with somebody who's actually expert in this area. In our permanent supportive housing programs, we do have other kinds of sort of employment preparedness and coaching. It's still not that we don't actually offer things like culinary arts skill training, but we can refer them to partners who do, right? So it's complicated because, you know, you're trying to get people into it. I find that some of the folks that we work with find opportunity in security services, right? You don't necessarily need a master's degree to be a security officer, and there's lots of training opportunities for them. But again, it's really a lot of it for us is through our own partnerships and extending networks, referral networks to folks who are seeking employment or have employment and want to upgrade their skills.
Okay, thank you.
And can I add one thing? The other thing I think to consider is that you're talking about how are folks going to pay rent going forward. Certainly they should be connected to work, but we have in the city what's called the City FEPS voucher, plus there are other vouchers, Section 8, FEPS, for example, that people can access to help them pay their rent. So yes, people have to work, but there is support to help folks maintain stable homes.
Is that sustainable for a while? Do they keep it for a long time?
Yeah, City FEPS is it can go for up to 5 years, and then it's reevaluated after that to determine if there's still need.
Thank you. I'm gonna move on. Bishop, go ahead. If you can.
Yes, quickly before I go, I just want to follow the last speaker quickly. Now I know his focus is asking more of sustainability. I know Diana did mention that, but I would just suggest that you should also involve more with partners in referral programs to be more self-sustainable. I know some of these, and I know that's what you're trying to say, and I want us to actually emphasize that very, very important because we're looking at sustainability, not depending on the city and depending on the state forever. So many things happen to those fundings. We know what is happening right now with people who are on some of this funding now that the federal government have made some mandatory things and things changes. And some of these benefits are reviewed in 2 years, not even 5 years. So I just want you to look into more of referral partnering and more of a referral program so that and one of the things we do at New Hope for Life is that one thing we do is that we make that partnership that when we are sending somebody, we can follow through to ensure that there's somebody is there where we can call and say this person is there, they can help you. So that is one of the reasons that creates success in referral. A lot of time we have been encircling. We refer somebody in the channel of continual care where when they get to one place, nobody follow them if they move to the next stage and they revert back and they begin to encircle without progressing, without having a result. One of the things I believe, Charles, like you said earlier on, Jamal, is a temporary thing, 9 to 12 months, or maybe a little bit longer due to circumstances right now. But there should be a preparatory program that ensure that within that period, that person can stand on their own. And I believe that is what the other person was asking to be clear about. So now I'm going to move to another thing I was trying to ask Marco. Concerning your security system, I told you, I know you've talked about the gadgets and how beautiful they are. How are your security, you mentioned they are in-house. Do you have a program that makes them to understand how to deal with mental health, inform mental health communication, empathic communication, and understanding behavior has not been a target? Some of the things we have seen in the past is where people are manhandled as if they are police. I'm not saying police are bad, but some of the police who doesn't understand some of the things that goes on in mental health, or but security guard in some homes these are human beings, irrespective of their irrespective of what their health situation, how dignity is put in place, and people understand the leverage, not just the gadget. The people that are going to be connected with the first hand is usually, and one of the breaches in one of the chaos in shelter is between the security and the resident. There's a rules to it. They don't want to follow the rules. There's a time there needs to be, there's a lockup, all those kind of a thing. How are you ensuring that it's a foresight, ensuring that doesn't become a crisis, it becomes an issue within the society or the community where the shelter will be, everybody's scared because there's maybe a noise coming over there and all those how do you envisage that? How do you prepare for such things? Because it will come, it's a shelter. Different people are coming in, there are different stages of needs.
I mean, the key word that I think you said that really kind of warms our heart here is dignity. And it's real important that our staff understand that everyone deserves dignity. And we do a whole bunch of training for our staff. We do crisis intervention, we do deal with, our clients have lots of challenges in their life. And we do robust training on, I could tell you that the platform we use probably has 4,000 different training models, and we do different things we do things across the board about how you engage with clients and how you do it respectfully and how you understand some of the challenges they have. And we have special ones that we also do in our shelters, because it's, again, they're some of the same population. Our supportive housing services were mostly former shelter clients. So we do a whole bunch of trainings. We have a training director that does very specific stuff for some of our supportive housing, general, and for our shelter services. I mean, we think training is important, and people doing security, our contracted security go through training, and our lantern staff go through training. And, we try, at least on the contracted side, to get them exposed to as many of those specific trainings that teach them how to deal with challenging clients, deal with, all the, challenges of running a 24/7 shelter. And, can't lie, I'm not going to lie and say it's easy, but we do our best to try to train staff on how to really engage with clients and respect. I'll go back to that word, dignity, because we all need to live with dignity. And if we approach it like that, I think the relationship in that community, in the building, at that site, becomes one more where it's a better place to be in. And you help people want to live comfortably where they live, and normally you have less problems when you do that.
Thank you. Moving on to Mr. Robert Press, go ahead.
Yes, to Harry's question about the building, it was supposed to be a migrant center where there would be 200 migrants being kept in there, anywhere up to about 18 per room. So that's going to be one question. How many people in a room? And how did you and the building owner come together? Do you have other facilities in his buildings? Was there a third party, such as someone else that brought it together?
So just generally, the dorm units remain the same. So if it was originally designed or thought of as a migrant facility, the dorm units really don't change. With regards to the property owner, we had actually worked in a shelter with him, with the property owner. I think in our first shelter was with him, and this is now going to be our second shelter with him. So he knew us, and he reached out to us.
Now, on Blondell Avenue, there is a single men's homeless shelter of 200 men, and there's another one coming on the other side of Westchester Square. Now, the problem with this men's homeless shelter is that they're going into Westchester Square and asking for money and harassing women in the stores. One of the supermarkets has a problem with that. I know for a fact that women are very hard to control. From Community Board 12, when I worked with then Councilman Andy King, who had a family shelter, and the women would be yelling and screaming and cursing at each other in the middle of the street. How are you going to control this? Or even, it says 55 and older you're going to have? There's going to be no women or nobody under 55?
I believe that's what the census is saying, what we're going to be doing. And, you know, previously we did operate a women's shelter in the upper side in Manhattan, on the Upper East Side. And we do understand, you know, the population, and I think, you know, we understand kind of what we're getting into. And
the reason I'm pushing this about the age is I sat on Community Board 8. And we had a proposal for a senior shelter, something like this. And then we were told we would have developmentally disabled people in there who could be as young as 35 or 40. Is that what this board's going to find out that's coming down the road or not? Are you going to have developmentally disabled people in there under 55?
I mean, I don't want to answer for DHS, but I don't think the populations would mix. I mean, it's a.
That is, hi, Assistant Deputy Commissioner here, interjecting. At this given moment, there is no indication that the population you reference, the developmentally disabled individuals, will be clients at this site. And regarding the possible violations, you know, folks, you know, misbehaving in the community, the shelter, similar to other sites, will have a good neighbor policy, right? So there will be a hotline. You know, it's up on the number is there. There will be a hotline to call in. There's also phone numbers, email addresses, right? Elected officials as well as the board can reach out to us, DSS, DHS, to report any complaints or concerns, because clients, they do sign the good neighbor policy upon entry, right? So we hold them to a high standard. There should not be any, you know, loitering or any behavior, you know, criminal or anything, you know, in the community.
Well,
We don't intend
can I ask
in
Ms.
a negative
Sanchez a
way.
question while you're here?
Sure.
There was supposedly a 140-bed road in Bronxdale Avenue when Mayor Adams first came in. Mayor de Blasio had proposed it. Now, I spoke to Mayor Adams his first month in office, and he said, well, I'll check with DHS on it. And Mayor Adams decided not to put that shelter there because I said to him, we have 200 single men shelters on each side of Westchester Square. And he said that would be enough. Why is DHS all of a sudden throwing more shelters into this community board on top of the proposals of the new buildings that have to have 15% homeless, formerly homeless, if they're taking any DHS department, rather any HPD. So you're flooding this community board with homeless people, whether they be in the new buildings that are taking the Department of the HPD money, or now you're sending in a third 200-unit shelter on top of these. You're turning this community board into a homeless community board. And we have
people. Mr. Press, and we're gonna minimize it back and forth because we're running out of time. So whoever wants to answer that, go ahead, but we're gonna move on.
The people who are living in set-asides, HPD set-asides, are no longer homeless. They are living in permanent apartments. They've moved out, they've exited shelter, and they have transitioned to permanency. So they're no longer homeless.
Rich, I'd like an answer from the person from DHS, from Department of Homeless Services, please.
Sure, whoever that is, go ahead.
Ms. Sanchez,
Wait,
why
what
are
was
you flooding this community board?
I guess Mr. Press, we're gonna pause you there. So now I'll ask it out loud. The question is that many constituents are asking us. It seems like our district is being flooded with a lot of homeless shelters or supportive housing shelters or supportive housing buildings. So that's the question being phrased right now. Beauty, if you could answer, that'd be great.
So we are not flooding, specifically Community Board 11. We're not flooding with homeless individuals, as my deputy commissioners just mentioned, folks that are in supportive housing this is considered permanent housing, so they're no longer homeless. And the city has something called fair share, right? So there's no community that is immune from new shelter sightings. And in this board, there is not an oversaturation.
All right, thank you for that. Go ahead, Chair.
I did
Thank
want
you.
to, I did want to respond to that because there is this misconception, you know, people, this district in particular has actually fallen behind or fallen short of that fair share. So I know it may feel like we're getting suddenly bombarded with locations, but the fact of the matter is that in terms of numbers and data, we have not met our obligation in terms of housing. So I just wanted to say that. My final question is, with regards to the advisory board, who will be our contact person for, you know, submitting names or giving suggestions for the advisory board?
It will be Simone Zito. She is the Bronx board director for CB11. So Ms. Zito will follow up
Right?
with you, with the district manager for CB11 to get the names.
And we should have Simone's contact information, yes?
Yes. Simone, please place your email in the chat.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Any other final questions before we move on? Going once?
Hello?
Go ahead, who's that?
Hello?
Hey.
Hey.
It's Kay Cardona. I'm sorry. I have bad allergies this evening and I'm on headphones. Normally you would see me, but I can't do I can only do the phone ins now with the new setup with WebEx. Couple of things. First of all, I want to be on the advisory board, and I'm insisting because I not only live nearby, I take that route past there to go to work. I'm representing the people for the nursing home that I work in because they're concerned. There were 2 other nursing homes in proximity of mine that I work in, and I have ADAPT right across the street, what used to be United Cerebral Palsy. So I would like very much to be on the advisory board. I also am a member of National Nurses United and the Met Council on Housing. So all around, I have issues and concerns. This sounds like Shangri-La, but many times we know that how things start out are not always how they end up. Another thing is with the FHEPS vouchers, there's always issues with funding. And with this administration in Washington, you know, you may see drastic cuts. So one has to be concerned that funding for people to be housed today may not exist down the road. Next, the population is supposed to be 55 and up. I'm 67. I'm not supposed to work and I'm still out here working every day and stuff. Some of these people may or may not be trainable. We have that in mind. And the types of careers for some of them may be limited. So if any of the colleges, and we have Mercy University right down the street from there in the Hutchinson Metro Center, if you guys who are responsible for this shelter could get in touch with some of the universities, it might not be a bad idea to see if they have any programs that might be able to help these people to have the kind of careers that are more suitable for their ages. They may have limitations. There's also, once they're in housing, once they reach 62, before they're 62, if they're on disability, there's a program called DRE. So that rent, whatever rent they have, if they apply for DRE and get it, that rent will never go up. Once they transition into Social Security, they can go on to SCREE, right? Once you're 62 and older, if you're under 50,000 a year, you SCREE, which whatever your rent is at that time, it will never increase. So those are programs you might want to look into for your residents in terms of permanent housing for them. You know, I'm sorry if I sound like a bossy person, but this is stuff that I deal with, that I've had to deal with myself and that I deal with patients that I've had. So that was it. I just wanted my 2 minutes.
Thank you, Kay. Always appreciate your comments. Anyone else?
Thank you guys for having me.
Yep. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? So, all right, thank you, DSS, thank you, Lantern, for coming. All right, we're gonna stay in touch. Madam Chair will be in contact with you over the Community Advisory Board. We look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
having us.
We
All right.
truly
Thank
appreciate
you.
Yes.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. We're moving right to the BRC Q&A meeting. Madam Chair?
So, yeah, Jeremy and I had a walkthrough down at one of the BRC sites in Manhattan, all the way downtown on Pitt Street. It was similar to what they're envisioning here on Pelham Parkway. So one of the things that I mentioned to them was the importance in terms of community engagement, how people want to feel like they're part of the process, they have some input, they have some say in what's gonna happen there. So the goal is for March, for this committee, Housing and Land Use, to have some sort of a broad meeting into the public, you know, with the public, inviting public input, inviting input from the local organizations, et cetera, so that you know, we can have a sort of Q&A with the folks from BRC. So I will keep, you know, I will keep people informed, abreast of the planning for that. But my guess is it'll be for the March Housing and Land Use Committee meeting.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to gallery session. Whoever wants to talk, raise your hand. I know there were a few folks who signed up. Like Camila, did you sign up? I'm not sure. But whoever is interested, if not, that's fine too.
You want me to pull up names, Rich?
No, actually, no. If they don't want to, don't volunteer.
Sorry, was this to speak on behalf of, or in support of the women's shelter?
Yes, yeah, that would have been, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, that is what this is.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I just wanted to hop on here quickly. Thank you for your time. My name is Tess Summer, and I'm here on behalf of the Health and Housing Consortium. And while I don't live in the neighborhood, the consortium is a New York City-based nonprofit that was born out of the Bronx, and we see every day how safe shelter helps people stabilize and move forward. And at the consortium, we know that housing is healthcare. People experiencing homelessness have higher rates of chronic conditions and struggle to access consistent primary care and often rely on emergency rooms, leading to disjointed and insufficient care. Often the first step to accessing housing is shelter. And so that's why we wanted to come on here today, just to show support for the proposed women's shelter led by Lantern. You all know New York is facing historically high levels of homelessness, more than 120,000 people sleeping in the shelter system, many more living in unstable situations. And among them is a growing number of women who are experiencing homelessness, often after surviving domestic violence, severe economic hardship. And these challenges are really complex, but we need more shelter beds so that people are not forced to survive on the street or make a decision out of fear, where their basic needs like sleeping, hygiene, and safety are constantly at risk, and where they are too often criminalized simply for trying to live. And as we've seen with the recent cold spell in New York, this is truly a matter of life and death. And providing safe, structured shelter is not only a compassionate choice, it does improve public safety, and it strengthens the social safety net. When people have a stable place to stay, they're better able to access services, pursue housing, and regain independence. And that's how we create these pathways out of homelessness. Well-run shelters strengthen the communities they're in, and the consortium has worked with Lantern for many years, and we know that they are thoughtful, engaged, and care deeply about the people and the communities that they serve. And I trust that they would be a good partner to the community and work with all of you to ensure the continued.
Sorry, 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. I know we are all on the same page here. We all believe that women deserve dignity and safety and a chance to move forward. And I hope that we can continue to work together to make this shelter happen.
Thank you. Anuva, you want to go next? Anuva?
Yeah, hi. Hi everyone. My name is Anuba, and I'm here to speak on behalf of in support of the women's shelter. I'm a Morris Park resident as well as a medical student at Einstein here in the Bronx. And I frequently interact with unhoused folks, whether as patients in the hospital or as I go about my daily life, like in the streets, on the subway, etc. And when I think about like patient experiences, when I was on the addiction medicine service at Weiler Hospital, I had a patient who was seeking treatment for substance use disorder and also for multiple chronic health conditions. And these conditions were triggered and like worsened by a toxic domestic partnership situation. But the patient was facing the risk of housing insecurity if she made the decision to leave her partner and prioritize her health. And so having to choose between like having a roof over your head or your own health is a really devastating choice. But it was one that my patient wasn't alone in. And without housing stability, many folks don't have the privilege of prioritizing their health needs. Like housing comes first for so many folks because of the stability it provides. And so a women's shelter in this area would really meet the need of so many of our like Bronx neighbors, and women who are seeking safety and stability, especially away from domestic violence issues, and who need the resources to develop financial independence and the stability and a safe place to live, and be able to kind of connect with the resources to prioritize their health. And so I think that's why, from my standpoint as a neighbor and as a medical student, I do think this shelter is so important for, the public health of so many of our neighbors as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nova. Much appreciated. Evan, last but not least.
This person is on.
I can't hear you, Evan. Raise your volume on your end. Maybe it might be headphones. Nothing. Talisha here, by the way. Did she get out?
Or Dr. John?
Or Dr. John?
That is me. Good evening, everybody.
Hello? Yep, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, so for us also, to be honest, we strongly support housing investment that include community-based supportive service, because stable housing must be accompanied by access to workforce opportunity, and that's one of the reasons why I brought that up in my questioning that time: financial counseling, benefit enrollment, and health social support. We from New Hope Alive, we support this program because we understand that health is not just going to the clinic or going to the doctor. There are so much in social determinant of health, which include housing. Like one of the speakers have said earlier on, everything starts from having a stable place to live. It gives you the ability to think. It gives you the ability to think about the next level of action. I want to confess to you, I've been homeless for 2 days before in 2006, and I understand that moment that every other thing shut down. Because now you cannot concentrate on your health, you cannot concentrate on any other. You are thinking about the danger of the street. Look at the weather where it went so bad. So we at New Hope Alive, we support this house initiative. We feel where we are right now in the Community Board 11. This is something that it is needed, and we cannot deny it. People need a place to be, and with what they have, and the company, the organization has analyzed in terms of the care, in terms of security, in terms, I believe this will be a successful program that will enhance our community and the people that we serve.
Thank you. Evan, go ahead.
Okay, I think it's working now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, great. So my name's Evan. I'm also a medical student, just like Anuva, at Einstein, and a neighbor in this community. And so I'm here to voice my strong support for the new transitional shelter proposed at 1682 Stillwell. So during my clinical rotations at Weiler and Jacoby, as well as other community work at our free clinic as well, I've seen many patients who are unhoused and whose medical conditions worsen just because they didn't have stable housing. I'm reminded of one patient, a woman who struggled with diabetes and high blood pressure, which are very common conditions, but there are effective medications to treat them, and she had been prescribed insulin in the past. However, without a safe place to sleep, she's not able to store her medications properly, including this life-saving insulin. As you may know, it's not easy to store. Sometimes it requires additional materials like needles and such. So having a safe place to live and to sleep is essential in being able to kind of follow through on the treatment plans. So it's really disheartening, especially when we see patients come in for recurrent issues that are exacerbated by their material conditions, specifically lack of housing. As a clinician, you do your best to provide treatment plans and medications and consider each individual's circumstances and what they can follow through in terms of planning. But being unhoused is a uniquely difficult challenge for many patients to follow these plans and to get better. And so this patient struggled not only with medication access and storage, but also in preparing healthy meals, getting consistent rest, and all of these things really exacerbate her conditions that could easily be treated if she otherwise had access to, things like housing.
Thanks, Evan. Thank you.
And so, there are 120,000 people in the city, over 120,000 people living in city shelters and having unsafe housing conditions. And so I really advocate for this shelter to help strengthen our community, reduce street homelessness, and give folks an opportunity to live more dignified lives. So ultimately, the shelter is about building the kind of community we want to see, one rooted in compassion, dignity, and health, and one that uplifts all members of our community. And so I strongly urge the board to support this project, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Evan. All right. Thank you, everyone, for that very healthy back and forth. Anyone else have any comments before I wrap this up? Going once. So, all right. We have no motions. Old business. We don't have any old business. We don't have any new business, right? I think the March meeting for the BRC. Thank you all for the conversation today. All right. Have a good night. Meeting adjourned at 7:24 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Enjoy some leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and it's 7:24, you right? For the record? Yes.